Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Despite my medical condition, I've been in a much happier mood in my life because of this fiasco that involves honkaistarrail, and I can't wait to talk about it with all of you. If you want to know what pointless internet fiasco to look at that progressively gets more entertaining somehow, you have to look at the jiaoqiu and Acheron situation. To see what spurred this on, it basically started from jiaoqiu's release itself. Jiaoqiu's entire design was basically made just to be as synergistic with Acheron as possible. The closest other comparison to a best-in slot that actually wants jiaoqiu is for Dr. Ratio Hypercarry. Even though jiaoqiu was universal, he wasn't the best for any other team outside those two damage dealers, which made his pool value really unique at the time. Compared to say a harmony like Robin and Ron May, who were best in slots for multiple hypercarries, jiaoqiu was effectively only best in slot for two. And so naturally, a lot of people on the AcheronMainsHSR subreddit really doubted that jiaoqiu would be too much of an Acheron upgrade. And once he left and power creep started to kick in, it became pretty apparent just how good jiaoqiu was for Acheron in practice. There was a contingent of people like me who regret skipping jiaoqiu and waited for jiaoqiu's rerun. And jiaoqiu's rerun came on the 2nd anniversary. And unsurprisingly, Acheron was also on the banner. With the perfect storm of jiaoqiu's rerun, the influx of new players from anniversary joining in, and he was rerunning with Acheron no less, discussions of is jiaoqiu needed for Acheron exploded more than the first time jiaoqiu released. This honestly was pretty expected, and the memes from it were pretty funny. The situation wasn't anything out of control, but it was a bigger outburst than usual due to the combination of so many factors that spammed the AcheronMains subreddit for a while. But the overall scale of this incident is pretty small and would have subsided eventually, with people really not remembering whatever this was in 2 months. But wait, there was another factor in this that I forgot. Oh, yeah. Cipher was previewed to be a quantum nihility before the livestream, and the anxiety of Cipher potentially replacing jiaoqiu was off the charts. The time period between Cipher's beta and Cipher's announcement was hell on earth for the AcheronMains subreddit. Turned what would have been a semi-entertaining event into one of the funniest outbursts of memes I've seen so far this year. Let me give you some examples here. So you have the it's already infected Wuwa, and you can see jiaoqiu is in Wuthering Waves for some reason. And there's also this post that I really want to know what this person, like, what was their inspiration? Like, did they take some sort of edible for this? Because I could not imagine myself thinking of this meme. Like, why is there just alien hieroglyphics and a picture of jiaoqiu and Cipher? I assume the translation of this is, hello fellow Acheron mains, is Cipher better than jiaoqiu for the Acheron team? And it's just this cat alien looking at you with a question. There's also this meme, which is just about as straightforward as you can get. And then we had the opposite of this one, where it's now Yin Lin instead of jiaoqiu in HSR. And we have this meme. It's the funniest one possibly. I love this image so much, and you can see that I made this a thumbnail for like one live stream and one video. It's so perfect, and it encapsulates this entire situation so well. Of course, you also had this, which is just a gooner post, but it's also pretty funny. Thank you for that comment, sir. And then you have, this is the funniest copy paste I've ever seen. Let me read it. Hey jiaoqiu, heard you were good for Acheron. Should I pull you or her light code? How about I pull the trigger, huh? Is that what you want from me? Is this all it takes? I'm sick of everyone thinking they are better than me. Fei Xiao tells me, babe, it's not that deep. But it is that deep. Motsu says, hey dude, chill, it's okay. I'm a side grade for Topaz and I'm doing fine. You answered yourself. You are a side grade. You're supposed to be that way. I ain't no side grade. I'm supposed to be the better option. Then this guy Sunday walks in and says, hey, it's okay. I was supposed to Castris as best in slot support, but that I understand your pain. No, you don't. You still have room for improvement. There's a lot more remembrance units to come. Meanwhile, I was born with a single purpose. People won't let me fulfill it. For the love of land, I can't take it anymore. What are these comments? So yeah, it's safe to assume that the Acheron mains are very they have been a little frazzled by this event, and I don't think people are legitimately mad about this question. I just think they're taking advantage of the situation for some really funny posts. But when Cypher's beta eventually came, things started to get even more funny. Around the time jiaoqiu's banner went up, Cypher's beta release, which I did make a video on. It's a bit outdated though, so I don't recommend checking it out. The situation further exploded naturally, and with recent updates it's been the most incredible HSR roller coaster ride in terms of beta. For me to explain this, I kinda have to summarize the beta progression of Cypher, and I guess this is to give you a bit of a bird's eye view on my opinions on Cypher's update. On version 1, Cypher wasn't directly best in slot in Acheron or Fei Xiao team. She was kind of a side grade most of the time for Topaz or jiaoqiu, usually wanting more single target than jiaoqiu. My opinion on version 1 Cypher has been documented already, and she was sorta weaker than I expected a new unit to be, in the sense that she doesn't buff a certain unit too much, but she should still be functional in those teams anyway, and I was gonna be pretty happy if she released in that state. On version 2, Cypher received numerous nerfs. Her max energy went from having a 2-turn ultimate to a 3-turn ult consistently. They changed her true damage a little, which favored AoE more than single target, so I guess an Acheron buff but a slight Fei Xiao nerf. They nerfed her multipliers on the follow-up. 400 to 250 is a massive nerf, and they also removed her action advance, and they changed her defense shred to vulnerability shred, which cut down any hopes of using tutorial. And let's just say people were not happy about this. Cypher was already kinda weird power-wise, like I explained, and version 2, cutting down her usage of tutorial for more charges on Acheron and Fei Xiao teams was bad enough, but then they cut down on her damage too, and made it seem like there was no point in running her, and her performance without high investment was not looking justifiable to release at all. It's pretty apparent from the showcases around this time that there was no E0S0 showcase that made Cypher look any good. You can imagine what the memes were in AcheronMains subreddit around this time, as some redditors resigned to just pull jiaoqiu the way Cypher is going. Version 3 Cypher though received really good buffs. Her follow-up happens every one of her turns instead of every ult now, which steroided her multipliers a lot to happen more frequently. Her vulnerability aura was also now a 40% AoE, which was honestly not that far away from jiaoqiu or Topaz. She essentially reverted back her V1's power level but in a different direction. Version 3 essentially reverted back to her version 1's power level but in a different direction. Cypher's version 1 was more supportive, while her version 3 was very much made her a really good CPS, which actually gave her a more unique edge compared to Topaz and jiaoqiu. The consensus of this was overall positive. She was back to being fairly balanced as a good side grade, but her damage made her much better than jiaoqiu for slow and single target enemies as well as apocalyptic shadow gimmick. So yeah, she got better. I will say version 3 was better than version 1 in general though. Not that far behind, it's just a different design, but still an upgrade. On version 4, Cypher received even more insane buffs. Her multipliers were buffed to probably the most insane sub DPS numbers I've ever seen. It almost doubled Cypher's damage on a purely numerical level, and she was already pretty okay as a sub DPS, but her version 4 multipliers are just incredible to look at. At this point, there was very little debate if jiaoqiu was better than Cypher. He wasn't. Cypher's damage was so high that even her lesser charging was well worth the struggle just to make Acheron brute force apocalyptic shadow. In fact, her damage was so good, why even use Acheron at all? Just use Cypher as a hyper carry like Anaxa, and it somehow works. There was also people saying Cypher worked better as a hyper carry than Acheron was. I'm not sure if that's true, and I really doubt it, but I want to acknowledge people were thinking that, and it wasn't actually that ridiculous as a claim that you might think. As you can imagine, this caused another explosion at the AcheronMains subreddit of people mocking those that pulled jiaoqiu and didn't trust the process. Cypher was now getting multiple zero cycle clears, low cost clears, and sustainless as an Acheron support or even as her own DPS, but it didn't take long until jiaoqiu would have the last laugh. Version 5. There's not much else to say other than Cypher's multiplier multipliers were literally cut to half on her follow-up and ultimate. She reverted back to version 3, but actually her damage is slightly worse than version 3. This is an excellent case of Hoyo giveth and Hoyo taketh, because Cipher went through a roller coaster ride, but at version 5, which I don't know if this is gonna be the last version of updates, Cipher's value became around the same as her version 1 beta anyway. Somewhat higher numbers, but in a more sub DPS than support-like role. I guess I can use this chart on how I feel about Cipher's value throughout the beta. The funniest part about this is that version 5 was released after jiaoqiu's rerun ended, and so we ended with the people that pulled jiaoqiu being overall somewhat happy with their purchase, while those that preyed on Cipher being better are now sniffing opium. It's funnier when you realize both of these sides never really changed, so those that were pulling jiaoqiu from the start were at the end being happy, while those that refused pulling jiaoqiu ended up not having jiaoqiu and calling for Cipher buffs. Absolute cinema, as one might say. There really is no moral lesson from this, and what is this meme? There really is no moral lesson from this, and I have no educational or what is this? What? There really is no moral lesson from this, and I have no educational or some sort of sagely insight to give to you, but I guess this just shows how a beta can be so chaotic. The pure entertainment I had this past month because of this entire fiasco is incredible, and I hope all of you enjoyed this as well. This actually got me to visit Reddit every day because I would see the funniest memes in HSR all in 1 month. I still can't get over this alien image post. Like, what even is the inspiration for this? How did you wake up one day and searched up alien language translator algorithm for an HSR shitpost? This actually made me want to title this video in this exact same way with the same thumbnail and see how many people will click on it just because they're curious. Maybe I'll do that in this video actually, don't be surprised. Anyway, that's pretty much it. As a note, I don't want you guys to get into the Acheron main subreddit and brigade or something. The Acheron mains are mostly just kinda chill, and again, I think they're just doing this for the bit. They're just they're just doing this to have fun. They're not really that mad about it. So again, it was a whirlwind of stuff that got them to be this, you know, it's a whirlwind of stuff that got the Acheron mains so wound up and making this sort of a community environment. And honestly, I don't blame them for reacting like this. I probably would have done the same thing. But yeah, wow, that's how the Acheron main subreddit has been my favorite pastime to visit. Anyway, I hope you guys like this video. I know it's not like educational or anything, I just found this entire thing to be so funny that I wanted to make a video on it. And yeah, I'll see you guys later. Bye bye. Thanks to all my members, including Man42 for the highest tier. Somebody gifted 5 subs in one of my Wuwa streams actually. You guys check out that video. I had to spend $30 on it and I want to make it back. Please send more gifted memberships, and yeah, I'll see you later. Bye bye.